Right, the West Coast Gold Coast game. This was an annihilation, really. The Suns 87-point winners over the Eagles. A big statement from Gold Coast, who struggled to win on the road for some time, but they were in control right throughout today's game. And Kingy, you were impressed with some of their clearance and their on-ball work.
Oh, they smashed him in the first half. Rao was at his best,
yep.
And he just absolutely dismantled them. And it made you question whether the West Coast were really invested. Like, is Tim Kelly really invested?
What do you mean by that?
Is he really at the knife's edge of wanting to compete in the clearance situation? I think he finishes the day with, minimal touches, minimal real involvement. You hardly noticed he was out there. Harley Reid, he wanted to fight more than he did play footy. A half-time break, I'm sure someone had a word to him. He had 2 kicks at half-time. So it just was embarrassing for them at stages, and they're well serviced in there. The numbers were just off the charts, and they got put to the sword pretty easy. There's the half-time numbers: minus 25 contested, minus 17 clears. There's no excuse for the minus 17 clearances. They've got good senior bodies in there, and that's an embarrassment.
How can they not be invested in their first game under a new coach?
Well,
surely your focus is narrowed.
Well, we're only talking margins. We're not saying they're completely out. It looked today like a midfield group and a team that were dog-hungry, that were desperate to make a statement at round 1 away from home, and a team that were just playing. That's what it looked like through the midfield. So the big three, again, for the Gold Coast Suns of Rao, Anderson, Miller, over 100 disposals, 30 clearances and 23 score involvements. They had their way with them, and I think West Coast just need to have a good hard look at the names they put in the midfield, because you're right, there are some names that have got reputations, but they need to stand up, because Andrew McQualter's relying on his senior players in particular to help out this young group.
I'm sitting them down, Joey, but I'm saying, look, I understand where you're at in your footy life, right? But we need you to be absolutely manic to help these young kids develop and get some sort of success going. If you can't do that and you need a break, go to the waffle or sit out for a bit, because we've got to get on with this rebuild. It has to take shape quickly.
You mentioned Harley Reid. You're saying he's checked out?
No, I'm not saying he's checked out. I'm just saying he's not focused on just his footy, just the football game day. Like, he's a brute. And we've seen him do some things in games already at this early stage that just shift games, rip momentum back for the West Coast. Kicked a big goal in the third quarter, but we seem to see more of that. He just seems to get distracted so easy in conversations with players. He's keener on a fight than he is the footy.
Oh, it's interesting. He had a sensational moments in games last year. He did kick 1 goal, but this is the stuff you're talking about. There's a bit of a flop there. He's bumping a couple of opponents. It really did continue throughout the day. He's thrashing him to the ground. So it's interesting. I mean, there's a big discussion about this man's future. So you just wonder, I mean, there's been questions, is he happy in the West? He's contracted to the end of next year, of course, but it's going to be a conversation that is ongoing, and that sort of stuff is interesting. He will be a target for other teams, no doubt about that. Jake Waterman, we see him taken off the ground with a calf concern. Now, this is peculiar because he missed training on Thursday, Kingy, with a calf issue, yet he's picked and he's playing, and at half-time he's out with a calf issue. Have they made a big mistake here?
Oh, you can't be gambling at round 1. I mean, if he's not right, you don't play him, and they've taken a bit of a risk. And they say it was precautionary taking him off, but I'll be surprised if he plays this weekend. If he doesn't play this weekend, you have to accept it's a big mistake and a big gamble by a first-game coach.
I'll look at it from a player's perspective. I get it. Round 1, you're desperate to play. A new coach, and I think he's a leader, and he's going, I'll be right. And sometimes you've got to put... No, but sometimes you've got to put responsibility on the player. A senior player gets to... is your calf all right? Yep, I can play. The doctors and the coaches have got to rely on what the player's feedback is during the week.
Thursday.
Yeah, and it's up to him, the player, whether he thinks he's right to play.
If he's got awareness in his calf Thursday, it's a big risk.
Yeah.
This shows you how obsessed we are as an industry with playing round 1.
Sometimes that can happen. And just one more quick with Gold Coast. If they had a loss, we would have smashed them. Well, not only did they go away from home and win, so we've got to give them credit, it was their biggest win in the club history.
Huge.
So they've made a little statement. That's all they can do against their opponents. But well done to Gold Coast. That's the first step in where they want to get to this year.
Might be a big statement from Damien Hardwick and his crew up there at Gold Coast. Like the Geelong Fremantle game, we've had a lot of thrashings this weekend, and the Cats, I mean, what a football club. Don't they just continue to stay in 4th gear? It was an absolute smashing, 78 points, that win over the Dockers. We've talked them up a lot, the Dockers. They really failed to fire a shot. You had a good look at Geelong, Joey. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, Fremantle absolutely disappointing, but I think Geelong made a statement. I thought they put Fremantle to the sword in the first half. It was some sort of statement, and what it was, to sum up the game pretty simply, is they out-toughed them on the inside like this. They just got after them and then outworked them on the outside. So they had both elements of the game covered, and Fremantle had no answers. Everybody everybody knows when you scout the Cats, Kingy, that their half forwards and their wingers will get up and they will try and beat you at the back. Now, again, like before, I could have shown 5 or 6 clips of this happening where, again, Geelong won it on the inside, too good, too tough around the contest. And then when they got the ball forward, Tyson Stengel, the other half forwards, Graham Myers did it with his first goal of the game. They beat you back. And Fremantle were either unprepared or weren't prepared to work hard enough back the other way, and they got exposed badly in this contest. So they've got to go back to the drawing board. High expectations for the Dockers, but they were found wanting. There are the numbers to back it up. So 56 tackles for Geelong in the first half. That was the most they've had in a half of footy since 2017. That was the statement that they made of the competition, and perfect, in a hot day, to be honest. It wasn't a wet day. Hot conditions, they were just mauled.
So, Joey, in the lead-up in the couple of trial games, they just played a vanilla brand of football, the coach said. Did they waste those hours and not being... No, I know you're smart, absolutely prepared.
Yeah.
Oh, they were underprepared to handle Geelong's forwards getting in behind.
Yep.
So is it the planning or is it the execution?
Well, it's probably a bit of both, and it's the mental preparation to just know what's coming and absorb it. And Fremantle didn't absorb it, they didn't handle it, so it's both mental and probably some system-based things as well that they'll need to get back on, because they've got a team, Sydney, coming over who are going to be desperate for a win next week.
Well, if it wasn't for Murphy Reid, let's be honest, and he's brilliant, a 4-goal haul in that third quarter, this could have been a 100-point drubbing, no doubt about that. As you can imagine Fremantle coach Justin Longmuir are mightily unimpressed.
Yeah, their pressure was at a level where we weren't used to and weren't up to. Like, you know, round one, we spoke about it yesterday, pre-game was, you know, round one, it goes up a level and we weren't ready for that. So, yeah, and just on the back foot all day because of it. So, yeah, got some work to do, clearly.
Kingy, what's it going to take for the Fremantle Football Club to go up a level? One final series in the past decade. We keep talking about their list. I know they've got some key players to come in. Young, Shea Bolton, Michael Walters. What is it going to take? Do we believe in this football club or not?
Well, I do, because it's stacked with talent, and I'm waiting for it all to come together. And I feel like it's right there. It's so close to coming together. And I've heard Justin talk about this for 2 years now, that they've really refined the way they play and they're in good order. And maybe you're going to have some losses on the road. So I'm not going to be too critical of this loss. The size of the losses are concerned. The planning's a concern. Bailey Smith ran around unopposed all day. 32 disposals and just destroyed the game.
Unchecked.
Unchecked. And I thought, well, does Chris Scott allow that? Would he really sit back and say, well, Sarong's killing us, we're just going to let him play and do his own thing? I just think at some point he had to intervene. And I just think the senior players need to go outside of themselves, and that's not during the week and be good guys and have dinners with everyone. It's in game. And there's one clip that sits with me where they were doing this all day, as you said, Joey. They were getting forward of the play. This is Graham Myers working his way down the ground. Dempsey does this all the time. He goes straight to the goal square, so it confuses the opposition team, because now they normally have the wingman rolling and covering. Not one of those Fremantle players on the right side there, inside their defensive 50, spun their head to check that everyone else is OK, that we're in good working order, and that includes the captain. Now, you've got to be better than that to have success at AFL level. I don't care how good you are, what your aspirations are. If I'm worried about you, if I'm genuinely worried about you, my teammate next to me, I'm checking you're OK. Yep, you've got him. Yep, you're right. Graham Myers comes down, alarm bells. Hey, who's got him? And you get it sorted. They don't even turn their head. They don't even turn their head.
Yeah.
I don't see that in any other backline. Not the good ones. We're talking this team a potential top 4 team. I reckon that's really poor.